Joining us this morning, Titania Jordan.
Tatiana Jordan. Did I get the name right? Jordan?
Titania.
Titania. Okay. All right.
It's Titania Jordan. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Sitting beside me is Scot Whigham, Director Global IT Service Support at IHG. This is a big deal. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
So IHG, InterContinental Hotels Group, you have a global footprint.
Absolutely. We have over 6,000 properties around the world, and we support not only our hotel colleagues, but as well as our corporate colleagues in the many offices that we have around the globe, supporting those hotels and so providing hotels for our guests that our guests really love.
That's amazing. I have firsthand experience of being a guest in an IHG property, and it's the best. It's great.
Yeah.
So you and I were recently up for the same award, and you won, and rightfully so. Congratulations on the TAG Excalibur Award.
Thank you very much.
For an AI product that is truly revolutionary. Will you tell us about it?
Absolutely. It is really an AI ecosystem is what we're looking at. There are component pieces to that ecosystem. And the most visible part of that ecosystem is the cognitive engagement platform, and that is provided by IPsoft, and it's their Amelia platform. And cognitive engagement is that front-end capability to interact with a customer, with our colleagues, in a conversational, multi-channel experience. Multi-channel meaning either by voice, by chat, by text, by email, or through a URL website. And the conversational piece is the real key to it. Many people refer to this, one of the channels out of this technology, as a chat bot.
Yeah.
And we think that there's a very large difference between what a chatbot is and what a conversational engagement platform is. A chatbot is strictly the chat channel. That's one channel. But how do you communicate with your clients in multiple channels, over voice, through emails, through text messaging, and have that same conversation through those multiple channels? And that's one of the key differences between this platform and a chatbot. Also with the chatbot is a very scripted engagement process. It gives out very specific responses, and it expects very specific responses.
Yeah.
In this platform, it's conversational in nature, has a very fine-tuned natural language understanding capability, and which that means is you and I, we're having this conversation, and you may have a very similar conversation with someone else, but they will put questions to you in a very different way than I will. And your ability to understand both of us in the different ways that we communicate is that natural language understanding. A chatbot won't be able to do that. It'll only do it in that one channel, whereas in these conversational platforms, they will understand multiple conversation styles, words that are used differently, such as I have a bit of a formal way to respond to yes by saying indeed. I like to do that to test out the platforms, the chatbots.
Wow.
Most chatbots can't understand that, and so you have to either program that in a chatbot, or your conversational platform will learn those differences and build a vocabulary, very much how people build vocabulary over time to understand each other.
And you refer to it as a she?
Yes, some people are uncomfortable with that, but we have certainly taken over personifying, humanizing the platform a bit.
Which I think is great.
Yeah, absolutely. In our business, in the hospitality industry, we are a people business. Our relationships are very important to us, and in our culture within InterContinental Hotel Group is very people-oriented, very relationship-based. So this type of technology, from a cultural shift, we have to get accustomed to having a relationship, having a conversation and interaction with a technology platform.
And it's only fitting that she have a name, and her name is again?
Amelia.
Amelia.
Yes.
I love that name.
Yes, it is a great name. IPsoft actually named her Amelia, and that name comes from the wife of Alan Turing.
Oh.
Alan Turing is the computer scientist that was made even more popular in our modern culture in the movie Imitation Game. And in that movie, his wife is one of the characters in it, but in real life, her name was Amelia, and that's where this character's name comes from, and this persona's name comes from.
That's great. So talk about what Amelia means for the end user.
Absolutely. So she becomes that face, that persona of the services that you're providing. And in that service and that persona, you start to develop a relationship with your company, with the brand of that company, and she becomes the face of that brand. Her capabilities and her ability to execute on tasks for your customers, to help them, to assist them, to give them information, to guide them through your services or your products, she represents that. And the more capable she becomes, the more in that single relationship that platform has with your customer, because quite often for businesses, that's their most often used form of engagement with a customer in one-on-one. And to have that capability for a platform that will often, if configured properly, will often remember that conversation from month to month.
Wow.
Over a time period, will be able to execute on many more basic tasks, than any one single employee or agent can at one single time, as well as to also reach out to you and have an engagement platform. You start to become a platform that is available a lot, has a capacity to help your customers on a large scale, and then will continue to engage with your customers in a very accurate, consistent manner over time that gives a company the ability to really hone that engagement with the customer. And that's the engagement, cognitive engagement technology and some of the capabilities it has.
It's really cool. So let's give our viewers a really tangible example of an interaction with Amelia. Let's take me for example. I'm a mom and a woman in technology. Have the show, run a startup, do a bunch of different things, and I have to travel for work. So I hop on a plane, I land, I go to an IHG property. How is Amelia used to interact with me and help personalize my experience?
Amelia right now is engaging with our hotel colleagues, and how that impacts you as a guest is, as you come into the hotel, you approach the front desk to check in. If that front desk agent is having any technical issues, that front desk agent will be able to interact with Amelia to get assistance right there to help solve that issue.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
You would never know that that agent is engaging with it, and they're going to stay focused on their issue. They don't have to stop, make a call, reach out to somebody for assistance. Right there in that time frame of working with you, they can also be enhanced in their capabilities by Amelia to help solve some of the technical issues that may come up. And they come up on occasion.
I mean, it's
and
technology.
they need that assistance, right? So it is helping, adding to the capabilities of that front desk agent that you engage with.
That's amazing.
In the future, the possibilities open up where she would be able to engage directly with you as a guest, maybe on a mobile app, maybe right there at a kiosk that you check in, and the possibilities are almost unlimited at that point.
Wow. Okay, so totally get the use case for a front desk agent. Walk us through a few other ways that Amelia is helping IHG.
Yeah, in the back office activities that our hotel colleagues are engaged with, she has been trained on how to do many tasks that happen within those hotels. One of the tasks, one of the more important tasks that takes place is called inventory balancing, making sure that the number of rooms that are actually available at the hotel matches what's in a system and what gets advertised out to our clients, our guests.
Wow.
And that's a daily routine, but it can sometimes be a little bit complicated. And so especially for those staff that are new to the systems, sometimes they're looking for assistance to walk them through that on that process. And so on our platform, our first business use case was to actually help a hotel clerk balance the inventory of that hotel, a multi-step process, and they can reach out to Amelia now. They do it through chat sessions most often. Reach out to Amelia and I need to balance my hotel inventory. Can you help me out? Amelia responds, let me walk you through this step by step, and they show them, as well as send them out training documentation so that they can read it themselves if they would like to.
Wow, wow, you just gave us two very specific use cases that take IHG operations and service to the next level.
Absolutely.
And that's great, and it really it gives you a competitive advantage. How long did it take to develop Amelia?
That's a great question. In fact, when we think of Amelia, that's a component piece within the ecosystem. We have other component pieces that are involved that we're evolving over time. And that front-end cognitive engagement, that became an interesting question because we had to change the way we thought about the technology as the Amelia platform came on board. When she came on board, we went down that path as for that development mindset, very heuristic in nature, meaning that we tried to program every step of the way of that experience.
Right.
And what we didn't leverage was the power of the platform, which is the machine learning capability to be able to learn from a conversation that happens between two people on how a task is executed on, and then map out that conversation, map out that process, if you will, and then say, this is what I learned during this conversation. Can I do this going forward in the future? And of course, we come in, we hone that conversation a little bit more and say, this is the way that we want that conversation to take place. That process, learning process on our part to say, sometimes we have to let go just a little bit,
Right.
Not try to control it so much, let the machine learning capability on the best path optimization take place. That took us a little while to let go, and so we spent so much time trying to perfect every little piece as we went along, and instead of letting the machine learning capability to help us produce on a mass scale. That first part, that took us several months to get past that. But once we got past that period, once that 7 month period was over, and we said, let's try this in a different way. And when we tried that different way, all of a sudden we started doing that same execution piece by piece. We started accelerating that, and now we feel like that we're at a point where we would be able to do that same implementation within just a couple of months, 60 days maybe at that point in time.
That's so cool. And it's an interesting question I asked because she's never finished. As with machine learning, she's always learning and getting smarter and more efficient and more helpful. So there's that initial 5 to 7 month, but now the sky's the limit.
Absolutely, and we think of the Amelia platform as our digital employee.
Nice.
This is someone that we work with to train. Very similar in concept to the way that we train our other employees to help and assist with our colleagues in the hotels and at the corporate level. And when we start to think of the platform in terms of a digital employee, then that we realize that this, as much as any of our colleagues are, we're always on a growing path, and we're always growing that platform and training and exposing her to new business processes, changes in our business that take place, and a business is always continuously training. And the ability for that platform to absorb those conversations and those experiences through interactions with our people, as well as interactions with our guests directly, that is the evolution of this platform, as very similar to what we would have with our human colleagues, if you will, as well as our digital employee that is Amelia.
I would hate to have to compete with her for Employee of the Month. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Well, she's not able to do one thing that you can do, and that's think brilliantly.
Thank you. So, I was talking about a use case for me as a consumer or visitor at an IHG property, but there's the internal team and there are vendors that you guys utilize. Talk about how your IT service and support footprint expands across multiple channels.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have engagements with, if you look at us in layers, if you look at our IT organization in layers, we have engagements with our customers at the front end, our colleagues at the front end. We have engagements with our IT staff in order to get the proper assistance. If groups that are within my organization can't execute on that task, we escalate it to the next group. Some groups are escalating on tasks that come directly to them, and so that becomes a layered approach. And the way that this technology works now is it is a single point of contact right there for all of our external colleagues to reach out to us for assistance. And then that technology becomes trained on who to go to for expertise if she can't execute on those tasks.
Wow.
And so now she starts to become an engagement tool for all of our clients internally or our staff internally to be able to communicate back and forth with our colleagues and to help amplify some of the capabilities that they have. In that classic shift to the left strategy where we want to shift as many routinized tasks
Yes.
from very high cost resources that are very high skilled set to get those routine tasks out of their hands so they can work on those creative tasks. And that's what this technology is about. I know that there are two huge fears around artificial intelligence technology, around cognitive technology. Number one is the fears that have been articulated by Dr. Hawking and Elon Musk, which is that this type of technology would soon overlearn the human species and be an existential threat to the human species. And I think that that's a concern that we have to talk about, and we need to certainly have that debate. Right now, the state of the technology, thankfully, gives us quite a bit of time before we have to be real concerned about it. So it's that loss of control,
Right.
That this technology does pose a threat on a long-term basis, the loss of control. I think we can safely set that aside, but the other fear that I think is here and now is about job destruction, about this platform coming in and unemploying a significant number of people. I read a report one time where there was a forecast that this technology would unemploy over 350 million people within the next 5 to 7 years.
That's hard.
That's the entire United States being unemployed. I don't think that that's the case. And the approach to this has been is this technology becomes an enhancement for people.
It's a tool.
It is a tool for people and it enhances their capabilities. And what it is designed to do is to release us from those routine, non-creative tasks that we spend on average 55% of our work week executing on a day in and day out basis, and give us a large portion of that time back to dedicate that to creative activity that allows us to build value within those creative activities. And so as an organization, when I talk to other organizations about this technology, that should be the focus, and that's the cultural changes. Let's not fear this technology.
Right.
Let's embrace this technology as an opportunity to enhance the capabilities and free up our staff that we have now to execute on more creative tasks that help build value, not only for the staff themselves, but for the organization as a whole and ultimately for their customers.
I love the way you put that. As I have become more entrenched in the world of tech and spent a lot of time with some really great developers and engineers, I love learning how they automate things in their life. And it frees them up to be creative, to think about things critically, and it truly is an enhancement. So anything that I can do in my life to personally either automate or just batch, it's amazing. It's a game changer.
Absolutely.
And no robot, no machine learning technology can take the place of me as a human and what I offer and my intrinsic value to the world. But I will certainly welcome any machine that can help, again, with that automation piece.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about automation and around that fear, I like to look back on economic history and the discussion around how many job categories have actually been eliminated because of automation.
Right.
Only one job has ever been officially eliminated due to automation, and that's an elevator operator.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's compelling.
Absolutely. So I think that the fear is a bit overblown, but at the same time, it is incumbent upon the decision makers that are thinking about leveraging this technology to understand what its capabilities are and how they would deploy it within their business strategy, and to take into account that this is not just a way to reduce headcount. This is an opportunity to free up their staff to do creative work that they originally intended for them to do when they hired them.
Absolutely. So, Scott, your job is, I'm sure, very rewarding, and it's very fascinating to many people who don't get to do what you do. So could you give us some insight just as to what your day-to-day looks like? How do you structure? How do you organize? How do you get inspired? What does your day look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I really think about the owners of our hotels. Those are really the people that I think about primarily. They are entrepreneurs. They are putting it on the line every day. Their family wealth, the care of their family, to run these hotels in order to earn a living, to build for the future for their families. My father was an entrepreneur, and so when I think of them, I think of what my father did, and I know what they're putting out there. And so that's my inspiration, is our hotel owners and what they're doing every day and the people that depend upon them. And technology is quickly becoming a backbone for running any organization, really, but in particular hotels. Technology has increased its footprint and become more and more important to a strategic point for hotels, and that's going to increase even more in the future. And how those hotel owners, they're not necessarily IT people, and they do reach out to me and my teams, to IHG for assistance in the IT space, and they depend upon us for expertise and to get them back into business when things aren't going well. And so we want to provide them a capacity to always be available to them, an expertise at that very front line that 9 out of 10 times it can get taken care of. Their issue can be taken care of right there, and it's accurately executed upon so that we shorten the time that they may not be running their hotels. My business, my job, my day-to-day job is to help absorb that IT need that the hotels have so that they can run their hotels and create hotels that our guests just absolutely love.
That's awesome. I know that is super rewarding and much appreciated by everyone you serve. Sometimes we have guests on here who we can't possibly think of any way that we could help them. Like, man, you just seem like you've got what you need, you're on a good path, like, I have no idea what I could possibly do for you. But I like to ask, is there anything that I or our audience watching can do to pour into you individually, pour into IHG as a corporation? Like, how can we help you? What can we do for you?
Absolutely. I think there are two main areas, and it's towards this technology. I think there are two challenges within the technology itself, and as we talked about, the multiple channels by which this technology engages with people, which is very important, by chat, by text. Those are text interactions, very easily absorbed, easily understood, but the big challenge is going to be around the voice channel, and it is there now. IBM Watson company is leading the way in that voice-to-text capability. There are some other companies. Google is actually catching up to IBM in that space, and that voice-to-text accuracy catching up, that translation, that understanding is catching up quickly to the human capabilities. And if you understand that the human error rate, as we're having a conversation, on average, I'm going to misunderstand about 5% of what you say, probably a little bit more, and that's on my part. But on average, humans understand each other 95% of the time accurately. This technology is catching up to that, but it's not quite there yet. And then you add into the way that we communicate through cellular phones, through hard lines, through just voice interaction this way. That presents an even bigger challenge to that accuracy. And that is the challenge I put out to the development community, to the scientific community, is how do we solve that? There are technical issues around the cellular networks, QoS issues, quality of service. Is a better network, such as a 5G network, going to help reduce those? Maybe, but those are challenges that we have to step up to and try to solve. And I think right now, for this technology to take that next step, it is that voice communications that happens, so that as wearable technology comes on board and we start to embed this cognitive engagement technology in the wearable technology, that Star Trek vision of the future of just voice communications, that will emerge quickly as the preferred channel over texting and chatting through a keyboard. And so that frees us up to do so much and provide a presence for this, and that's the challenge out to the development community. Let's solve that voice challenge.
Awesome, Scott, that was a solid answer. I'll tell you what, the day that I can press talk to text and say my name and the technology actually spell it correctly, would be huge.
I'm there, but I tell you, we have to go a step further. I don't want you to press that button. I want it to be omnipresent. reactive to your voice, recognize your voice, recognize when you're speaking to it, like I'm doing now, and having that challenge. And then yes, I would like Siri to be able to pronounce my last name correctly.
Right? Right? Pronounce it for us.
Whigham.
Yeah, right?
She pronounces it Whigham, and I can't get her to pronounce it any other way.
It's so frustrating. I'm right there with you. Titania, Jordan. It's all right, Siri, we have patience with you. Scot Whigham, IHG, it is such an honor to have you here. Spend some time with you, get your unfiltered thoughts on this amazing technology and how you're working, again, on a global standpoint. And hope you'll come back soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been a real honor for me.